So we're going to make our own pirate hats so we can be pirates too. They fit really nicely on our head, and we've used a stapler to make them fit, which you don't have to if you don't have a stapler at home. All we are going to be doing is folding, and if you do have a stapler to make two little staples to fit, which I'll show you how, you can bring those out too. Everyone should have in their little packet some type of feather. It might be purple, it might be blue, it might be pink. Not all feathers are the same. And then our little sticker. Those are the only two things that we'll need in this pack for this craft. So we're gonna take our rolled paper and we're gonna fold it in half this way. So there's our fold in half. Then we're gonna bend these two pieces together until they meet in the middle. And you'll know they meet in the middle because when they come together, the point comes together perfectly. You can kind of bring it up like this. Then you'll know that everything is even. And then we're just gonna crease along this edge here and crease along this edge here. Now you can see you have two different pieces. We're just gonna fold this up like this. And then we're gonna flip it over and we're gonna fold this up as well, make it match on that side. Okay, and there's our pirate hat. So you can see that it fits perfectly, but it moves quite a bit. So if you want to, you can do a little pinch, or have mom or an older brother or sister do a little pinch on either side, and you'll know that's where you put your staple. Just bring your staple in. Same thing here in the back. Turn it around, bring it in the front, do a little pinch. Put your staple there, and then it should fit your head perfectly. And the last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add our flourish. You can color it if you would like to add a skull and crossbones or something interesting, or you can slip in your little feather into the cap here, take your sticker off, and it's gonna slightly overlap this section, the center section, and the feathers so that everything stays together, just like that. And there's our finished pirate hat. We're gonna be creating her pin dot camera. And this is all about finding your space within your picture plane. So this whole room that I'm standing in, everything behind me is my picture plane. If we were to look at this is the whole picture plane. If I wanted to take a hone in on this tomato plant, I'm gonna use my powers of, or my lens actually, to bring this in together and just take a photo of just this plant. And this pin dot camera, this little dot right here, if you look through, I'm now looking at the person who's filming me, and I can see just a halo around her. And it helps us to kind of pick out in nature, just like Ansel Adams did, exactly where he wanted. Did he want to take a picture of all of the national park, or did he just want to take a picture of Half Dome? So in order to do this, you're going to take two of your pieces that are in your special little packet. This is your camera cutout piece, and then this piece. Now, we're going to use our cutting skills that we practiced earlier. We're going to use an appropriate scissor with our thumb in the smaller and our fingers down here. And we're going to open up our scissor as much as we can and take long cutting strokes. Cut all the way to the end. And that's going to allow us the most amount of pressure to quickly cut out our circle, and with the most accuracy as well. Long strokes are easier than doing chop, chop, chop. Okay, and then here we have our spot. Then we're gonna cut out our little button, a little silver accent for our, if we actually had a camera, this would be what controlled the opening of our shutter. Okay, and then we're gonna use our glue. Now a little word about glue. If glue is all about the pressure that you push with your hand, and then also about how fast you move. If I put a lot of pressure and I move really slow, I'm gonna get a big glob like this. But if I put a little bit of pressure and I move really fast, I'm gonna get a nice long line. And whoop, That is exactly how we want to do it, because we don't want that big glob like I just got there. So how we're going to do this is we're going to take the back of our circle. Here's the front of our circle. We're going to take the back where there's no printing, and we're going to move very quickly around the circle with our glue. We don't need a lot. And then we're going to line up our hole here with our hole on the front of our camera. So if I were to take this, I'm going to look through that hole with my eye, and I'm going to line up those holes, and I'm going to bring them together, and boom, there's my holes. And then I'm just going to press it down and hold it for a second. Okay. And then I'm going to take my little adjuster button here, and I'm going to put a little glue here. And sometimes it works better if we apply it to the surface here, because we have a greater surface and it allows us more accuracy, rather than apply it to small things like I did here, because sometimes it's just easier for littler fingers to have a wider plane. And that's our Pin Dot camera. So now I can use this and look out in nature and decide exactly how big I want my picture to be. And for our craft today, we have made a donut touch wheelchair. We need you to look for our October issue of San Diego Family Magazine, because Maggie Elizondo is also going to be a donut box with her granddaughters as donuts, cups of coffee, and a certain character, which you'll have to look in October to see. But anyway, we're playing off her little donut touch wheelchair here. And it's a simple thing. All you need to do is pull out. You should have in your bag this is the beginnings of our craft. And you're gonna color this. So I've colored mine. I'm choosing to use pink sprinkle donuts because Maggie is very glitzy and glamorous. And I'm gonna give you some tips about how to cut. Everyone tends to use, first of all, this is a really big piece of paper. And if you have little hands, this big piece of paper can be intimidating. So the first thing that we'll do is we're gonna cut down the amount of paper that we have to make it easier to manipulate. So we have 3 pieces here. We have each of the sides and this piece here. So we're simply going to cut these 3 pieces apart to make it simpler for little hands to manipulate. Now, I am using these scissors, which are Fiskars scissors. We love these scissors because they have such a fantastic grip, and it's really obvious that this is where you put your thumb and this is where you put your 2 fingers. The other thing is that for safety scissors, and they don't have a point that hurts, you can't jab yourself, they're very sharp, because a lot of safety scissors aren't sharp, and it makes it really hard for kids to get into those little tiny places. So try not to give your kids safety scissors that don't have the ability to truly cut. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut along this line here, and we're going to use big long strokes. People tend to use snips. You want to use the full length. Open up your scissor as much as you can, and then use the full length of it, cut to the edge. And then when you have an angle like this, which is probably, I don't know, probably like 120, 125, 135 degree angle, you can just snip it like that. But if you have something that's really hard to get into, there's an easy, cheap way to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut along all the edges that are the same here down to this edge, and then we're going to cut to this edge, and then we can easily remove those big pieces of paper. And we're just going to do a really quick snip in here and a really quick snip this way, and then those pieces will fall away as needed. Now, this little edge is one of the harder places to get into. So instead of cutting this way and then cutting and trying to jab around in that 90-degree angle, what we're going to do is we're going to cut a little bit further up and bring it in. And then when we cut this way, it makes a nice crisp angle. And then we can do this similarly, turn it this way, and then cut into that angle there too. Because it is much harder, and I'll illustrate what you shouldn't do. It's much harder to turn if you have little hands, especially unskilled little hands, to turn it at that 90-degree angle, and it's really easy to break that off. So this is really hard. But instead, if we start out here and we bring it in, oops, we can easily get that 90 degree angle real simply. So then we're gonna do the same thing on this side. We're gonna cut straight down. And then we're gonna cut our simple angles. Cut these guys in. And all the while we're going to use those techniques. Now this is a little bit trickier too. So I'm going to cut all the way in on this side and all the way in on this side and just kind of fold that up to get it out of my way. Then I can cut here straight, here straight. And then I'm going to use that same technique where I'm bringing it in like an airplane. And on this side as well. Fold this back. On this side, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come in this side, this here. So see what I mean about not having to turn too much, that whole 90 degree. And then we can do the same thing here. Straight. Overcuts are really important not to happen in certain areas like this where we have our handles, because the handles are a little bit smaller. So we're going to cut straight down, and then we're going to use our same technique where we come in at an angle, nice straight point there, pull that guy off, come in at an angle. So there's our wheelchair back and front. Now we're going to do our two sides. These are pretty simple. I'm just going to follow the lines. Again, we're opening up the scissors as much as we can and going as long as possible. It makes it so much easier to cut in this way. And I try to cut in, it's okay to cut in small spaces, get those little pieces off. Okay, this is another one where I'm going to come in for this side, for that 90 degree angle. And in this little spot up here, don't worry about getting so specific. If right in here next to where the two wheels come together, it's okay if you leave a little bit of space. Doesn't matter if it's absolutely perfect. Do this one real quick. I cannot stress enough, my husband is an OT, that having the right scissors for your child is right for you. These scissors are actually a little bit too small for me. I should be using a larger scissor. If you have a smaller child, they should be using a smaller scissor. Bigger child, bigger scissor. Also, there is such a thing as left-handed scissors, and it makes a huge difference. So if you have a child who is left-handed, one of the best investments you can ever make is to get left-handed scissors. It makes, my grandmother's left-handed, made a huge deal for her. Okay, so here's our three pieces. 1, 2, 3. Scooch these other guys to the side. So, as you can see, we've got, look, a little dimensional thing going on here. These guys are going to stay straight. We don't have to do anything to bend them. This we're going to bend. This is the bottom where our butt would go. This is where our back would go. So we're going to bend these forward on this line. So you're just going to bend them straight forward like this. Okay, so as you can see, there's our back and our seat. These guys are kind of the legs, and they're going to go down. Okay, and then these are the feet, and they're going to come out. That's where the foot rests if you're in a wheelchair. So you can see here's how it should look. Then finally, the last thing is right here on our handles. If someone pushes for you, if you need a little help going up on steep terrain, so there, just like that. So that's the interior. Now we have these pieces here where you see these lines, these are what connects to the two side pieces. So what we're simply going to do is, you can kind of see, this one is folded down and this one is folded in. So on either side, we're gonna fold these two small tabs in towards the center, just like that. And these tabs, we're gonna fold down towards the base of the chair. So it looks just like that. So you see this bar going across here? That's the strut that would hold your wheelchair. So you're gonna kind of match approximately where your chair should be on either side, just like that. So we're gonna put a little glue here and a little glue there. There should be glue in your bag. You just want to hold it for a second to make sure. And there is such a thing as over gluing. If you use a lot of glue, then it will make it slide around a little more and it makes it a little bit harder to hold. And on this side, we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to leave it sitting here like this. Little dab of glue right here. Little dab of glue right here. And then that same spot. Now here's what's important, is that when you stand your wheelchair up, they're basically in the same spot. So you just want to make sure that you press these guys together so that your chair is in the same spot on both sides. So a little bit higher here, we'll lower it down. And there's your chair. So there's your do not touch wheelchair.